Hello, I'm Ben from the Bonehead Podcast, and welcome to the Bonehead Dungeon Bowl Championship. Welcome to the round 2 preview. So the Dungeon Bowl Championship takes the carnage of Blood Bowl and puts it underground. We have got all 8 colleges of magic, and they are going to be playing against each other across 7 games of Dungeon Bowl to find the first Bonehead Dungeon Bowl champion. So we are looking at round 2 today, which is going to be light versus life. We've already had beast versus metal. That one went out last weekend. Now we're going to be looking at this match here. So the way the fixtures and fittings go for this series, the first game and the third game, the 2 winners will play each other in the semi-finals, and the second game and the fourth game, the 2 winners of those will play each other in the semi-finals. So light versus life here. The winner of this match this weekend will take on the winner of round 4, Shadow and Death. That's how it is going to play out. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at both of the teams. We're going to have a talk about the coach that I will be playing against this week, and then we've got to touch on the Wizards, we've got to touch on the map, and we've got to touch on the Viewer Championship. Now before we move on, I just want to say I did make a little bit of a mistake with the Beast versus Metal one. I actually put the exit interview from game 3 on there, so there are a few people who know the outcome of this match. Therefore, anybody who puts a guess in for round 3 will get it right, regardless of whatever your comment says. I just wanted to sort of face into that now. However, the rest of the Viewer Championship is still good to go. Right, let's have a look at round 2. Okay, so first up is the College of Light. This is one of the teams that Blood Tithe has painted for us, and I think you'd agree it is pretty gorgeous. So we are looking at the College of Light, and it is a pretty light college when it comes to the dungeon. We've got 2 Elven Throwers. One of them has the Accurate upgrade. We've got 2 Elven Blitzers. Now this is Elven Union Blitzers, so these guys have block and sidestep and have both been upgraded with dodge as well. So 2 Blodge Step Blitzers on this team. We've got 2 Elven Catchers. That's movement 8 and strength 3. No skill upgrades on those, and we do have one more catcher, but it is of the human variety, a poor man's Elven Blitzer. Movement 8 still has that dodge and that kind of agility angle, but it's only edge 3+, so kind of a movement 8 treasure chest opener. We've got 3 nobility linemen here. One of them does have guard, so there's going to be a little bit of kind of fend guard combination. It could be interesting to see how that plays out in the dungeon. 2 Elven linemen round out this roster. One of them has Portal Navigator, so we're kind of hoping that guy comes in late and is able to get exactly where he needs to go. 3 rerolls, including the free reroll for being a Dungeon Bowl team, because we're using the Dorset Dungeon Bowl rule set. 12 players, 3 rerolls. The Elven Thrower and Blitzer combination is going to be quite brutal. And the College of Life, this is Ian Warhammer Hannam's team, and it is absolutely beautifully painted and converted. He's used parts of Dryad kits and Sylvaneth kits to build a life team where it all just blends in lovely, and also there are halflings. So we've got 2 tree men on this team, which is quite a contentious build option. One of them has block and one of them has brawler, block being the double skill for the team. 1 Wood Elf Thrower, getting one of the best throwers in the game onto the Dungeon Bowl pitch here. And of course, in the College of Life, 2 War Dancers. Now both of these guys start with block and dodge and leap, which could be massively useful in a dungeon environment. One of them has an upgrade to get sidestep, so a Blodge Step Leap War Dancer, and one with tackle, which would normally be really useful. However, there's not a huge amount of dodge on the elf team here, on the College of Light team they're playing against. 2 Wood Elf linemen, 2 Snotling linemen, and 2 Halfling linemen kind of round out this roster. One of the Halflings has got diving tackle. Now that is a bit of an underrated skill. That's going to make that halfling very good at stopping someone from escaping from them. And of course, we've got a halfling catcher and a fungus flinger. Now the fungus flinger, it would normally, right, get sent off at the end of a drive. There are no drives in Dungeon Bowl, so the Fungus Flinger is not going anywhere. That dude should be able to just throw bombs until he either kills himself or gets murdered by the opposing team. 3 rerolls as well on this roster means 13 players, 3 rerolls with a real mix of bash and dash. Okay, so we've looked at the rosters. It is time to look at the wizards. So the College of Light Wizard starts off your opponent's turn. Opposition players cannot pass, hand off, or assist blocks. Last until the start of their next turn. So the College of Light coach will be looking to use this when they pass the turn over to their opponent. Okay, right, your turn, right at the start of your turn. This guy here who's got guard. This guy here who's got a bomb cannot pass and cannot assist blocks. So even if they've got guard or anything like that, it doesn't matter. Basically, that player just can't do some stuff until basically the end of your next turn. So for all of your turn and all of their turn and your turn, that player cannot make a lot of activations and cannot assist blocks. It is a soft wizard, but it can be really useful in the right circumstances. And the College of Life Wizard here, at the start of your opponent's turn, pick an opposition player. That player cannot be activated this turn, has no tackle zones until their next activation. So the idea here is that a bunch of vines break out through the ground and just keep that player in place. Basically, this is a automatic bonehead fail on one of your opponents at the start of their turn. So you ship the turn back to them, and then just as they go to start doing stuff, you go, actually, I'm going to use my wizard. That guy there is essentially boneheaded until your next turn. So this is going to be massive. Dude with the ball can't do anything. That just saves you for a turn. Guy protecting the ball. You know, if you've got someone guarding a doorway, you can do it. The downside is it is the beginning of their turn, so they can make a lot of choices and they can adjust their team and their turn strategy to kind of compensate. But it is essentially removing a dude for your turn and your opponent's turn, which can be massive. Now, before we have a look at the dungeon very briefly, I think it's best that we introduce our coaches, our opponents for this next game. It's me, and I will be running the College of Light. So Ben has handed over control of one of his beautiful teams to me, and we'll be playing the Life Father, Ian Warhammer. Now, Ian has built this team to run at Dorset Dungeon Bowl, and the skills that were being used are the same as how he's running it at Dorset Dungeon Bowl. So that'll be a really good way to kind of gauge how effective his team roster is going to be. Now, I like this. I like that we've done this in the series because we've got Milton, Ian Triplow, Ian Hannum. They're all running their rosters for Dorset Dungeon Bowl, and we're using this very same rule set. So it gives a good idea of how this roster system works for a tournament environment. So this game will be me and against Ian playing his own College of Life team. Let's have a quick look at the dungeon. So the dungeon map for this game will be the same as round 1 and round 2 and round 3 and round 4 and the final, because this is how we're running it at Dorset Dungeon Bowl. 2 maps. First round, last round is this map here. Now, I love this map here. We've got 3 main avenues, end zone to end zone. There is a direct avenue up here. So if you wanted to just go for a really quick breakthrough, you can do it straight up the middle. It's not always the wisest thing to do. So we're playing College of Light here. Now, the Light team has got no heavy hitters. The best it's got is the combination of a guard, nobility lineman, and a blodge step blitzer. So I wouldn't look to see the Light College particularly want to cage up. On the other side, however, the College of Light has got 2 treemen. Treemen are not fast. They're movement 2, and they have the best skill you can imagine for Dungeon Bowl, Take Root, which means that if they roll a 1 when they activate, they're not moving again until they get knocked down. So this could be huge, although I would expect to see Ian pop them near his end zone and literally just leave them there, throwing hobbits up the pitch and snotlings or whatever, just to be really huge gatekeepers. And that's a role they're pretty good at too. Now, mixed in with those bit of defense here, we've got a load of stunty players and elves. So movement 7, I think, is probably the movement 7 edge 2+ is the worst it gets when it's not a stunty player. Stunty players being able to move around 2++ or 3++ to make those dodges is going to be massive too. So look for Ian, I expect, to cage up with those 2 heavy hitters and then spread his fast and or very expendable players through the dungeon to just go and open treasure chests to try and find that ball as quickly as possible. It's an interesting matchup, this one. The Life College is a little bit vulnerable and is fast, but does have a little bit more strength when it comes to the trees and a little bit more agility when it comes to the elves. versus the College of Light that is just basically mid-range. It's got some fight, it's got some dash. It's going to be a really interesting clash here. Okay, we've talked through the teams, we've talked through the map, we talked through the wizard, we talked through the coaches. The only thing left to do is have a look at our viewer championship. And the viewer championship works like this. We will put up a match preview video every Monday. Patrons will get it on the Sunday, and we want you to cogitate the match, to think about the matchup and decide who you think is going to win. Now, this one is going to be kept really, really simple. All we want you to do is drop a comment to let us know who you think is going to win, which team is going to win, and you will get 1 point if you get it right. At the end of the series, the top 20 or so people will get some Bonehead Championship loot sent out to them. Now, we would normally have the top rankings at this point. We're not going to do that for the first game because everyone's either on 1 or 0 points. But at the end of the video, we will have the full Star Wars scroll of players. So if you want to know if you got it right or not, you should know by now, because you should have watched the match. If you haven't watched the match, go watch the match. It is a good match. But starting from, I guess, round 3, you'll start to see that leaderboard come to fruition. But one thing I will share with you before we move on, because we're doing this slightly differently this time, we do have a breakdown of the predictions. Now, I'm not going to tell you which team won or not, because you should go watch the match because it's a pretty good one. But 56% of people thought the Beasts College would win, and 44% thought the Metal would win. So I'm really interested to see what you think is going to happen in this game. You've got Light that's pretty fast, and you've got Life that's pretty fast too. This could be a quick round, it could be a long round, it could be an attrition war. It's going to be a really interesting matchup. We've got 2 wizards that can be really clutch but are not massively game ending. This is a really interesting matchup, and definitely some of the most popular teams out there in Dungeon Bowl. The Life team, super popular. Anyway, what we will do now is we will wrap up the video, and I will leave you with the Star Wars scroll so everybody can see what their score is so far. But for now, I'm going to disappear. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead Podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.